What should be in your flight bag as a student pilot? That's a question I asked myself when I started flying roughly 1 year ago. But when you search what's in my pilot bag on YouTube, most videos that will show up are from commercial airline pilots. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely love these videos, they're super interesting to watch, but they're not necessarily what you're looking for. While some of the flight gear is certainly the same or very similar, there can be quite stark differences in what to bring into the cockpit as a commercial pilot versus a private pilot. So in this video, I'm gonna show you what I carry in my flight bag as a student pilot. So the flight bag that I chose is this one, which is actually a laptop case. But I didn't want to invest so much money up front for buying one of these dedicated fancy flight bags when I actually just started out and didn't know what I would need in the end. But I needed something with enough room to have everything inside. What I like about my flight bag is that it has 3 compartments. If you can see this, it has one zip here with one compartment, another compartment here with a zip, and then it has this front compartment here that also has some space for additional stuff. It has these 2 handles to carry it as a handbag, but it also has this shoulder strap here, so you can carry it 2 ways. So that's what I'm using. I kind of personalized it a bit with 2 flight tags. This is one I got from my mom. It was hers before. Now she gave it to me that I started flying. And then I got this one at a recruiting event from Helvetic Airways, which I also tagged onto the bag. So what's inside? Since I have these 3 compartments, I actually divided what I need accordingly. So in this smaller pocket here in the front, I have all of the small items. Then in the first bigger compartment, I have everything I need for pre-flight, and then in the back compartment, everything I need in the cockpit. Okay, so let's start with the front compartment. So when you open this, you can already see that there's actually quite a lot of stuff in there, but it is organized in a way it has these smaller pockets. I think they're originally intended for putting away your phone, maybe a calculator, holding some pens, and that's also what I'm using it for. So in this first pocket, I have my calculator, just the normal calculator like this. That's essentially because I had to use one of these dedicated calculators during the theory exams. You couldn't bring your phone, and I just put it in here just in case you need one. Then in that same compartment, I have my pilot friction highlighters. These are great because they're erasable, so I can draw the itinerary that we're gonna fly, but then afterwards I can erase it without leaving a trace. Similarly, some pencils if I need to write something that I want to erase later. But then I also have my pens. They cost a bit more, but I don't want to have a cheap ass pen break down while I need to write something down. That's why I went for the more fancier ones. Compared to what flying costs, these are not that expensive. They last very long, they're very robust, so you cannot really break them, except this thing that always breaks off for me. And then obviously I also have my Apple Pencil. This is the first generation to just write on my iPad. Also in that same pocket, I have an AirTag because there's so much like expensive stuff in this flight bag that I want to know where it is in case it gets lost or stolen or whatever. Speaking of the iPad, here's my charger, and then also power bank. This is I think 15,000 milliamp hours. Yes, that's correct. Just to charge my phone or my iPad if needed. I mean, I always make sure that it's well charged, but if you're using an electronic flight bag, you really don't want to run out of battery. So the next important thing, my sunglasses. I got the classic aviators because we're being cool. No, just because I actually like them. They cover a big area. And apart from these, I only own very cheap sunglasses, so I thought maybe something a bit more durable is the name of the game here. Speaking of sun protection, I have sunscreen with a SPF 50. I have a very light skin. I get sunburns very easily. That always has to be in there. Yeah, then I have some tissues, some fisherman's friends, some disinfection towels in case you have dirty hands or if the stick is a bit sweaty or sticky from the previous user. I can use them, just wipe it down and everything's good. Very essential, batteries. I needed them twice now. Once the noise cancelling of the headset of my flight instructor went out. He didn't have spare batteries. I did, so I gave them to him. And then like 2 flights later, luckily I had replenished them. My noise cancellation just went out because that's the battery power part. So I could replace it. That's why I always carry these extra batteries. I also have some earplugs. I just carry them just in case we're at a busier airport and it's getting very loud. For emergencies, an energy bar, although you shouldn't need them. Some painkillers, you never know, just in case. Then an eraser, because if you have a pencil, there's no point if you don't carry an eraser. And lastly also, what's this thing called in English? It's not a lipstick. So I have this and the hand cream. And that's everything from this front compartment. Moving on to the middle compartment. As I said, this is everything I need pre-flight or post-flight, but not necessarily in-flight, with one exception. And I'll start with that. This is my iPad. Yeah, I mean, I just use it to run my electronic flight bag on this. I'm personally using for flight. I also do my flight preparation on this. So I have every flight relevant information here. The mass and balance, performance, the weather, NOTAMs, in Switzerland, DOPS. So I have everything online and also offline on my iPad. It's the normal, standard, nothing special iPad 9th generation, but I want to switch to a mini at some point with GPS because this is currently just Wi-Fi and it is not ideal. I have my notebook. This is actually a photo from my very first flight on the 4th of April last year. And this I just used to take notes during the briefing when my flight instructor explained something to me. So I write everything down. I have everything here. After the flight, you obviously need the logbook. I'm using the official one from the Botzel, or FOCA in English. Yeah, and then I have just a folder with some paperwork. When we get a receipt for the fuel, or from my flight school, I have different sheets of papers, one for each flight lesson. So that's all in that folder. And that was everything from the pre/post-flight compartment. So let's move on to the actual in-flight cockpit compartment. And I'm starting off here with my water bottle just because it is on top. Next up, I have my headset. Personally, I use the Bose A30. I got these after my second flight lesson because the headsets provided by my flight school were absolutely horrible. They didn't have active noise cancellation. It was just very loud. I couldn't understand what was being said on the radio, so I invested some money and got myself these, and it's an absolute game changer. They cost a lot, but they're totally worth it. Then also for the tarmac, my high-vis vest. My airport doesn't require it to wear one when you're on the tarmac. Obviously recommended, but you don't need to. But some airports I've flown to, they make it mandatory to wear one of these. So that's why I always carry one. Next thing is my hat. Not used in a long time since it's winter, but this is very useful also in summer, as I noticed, because sometimes the sunglasses just won't cut it when the sun comes from directly above. Then of course my checklist, and then what's mandatory in Switzerland at least, you need to have this last page here with the procedure when being intercepted by military aircraft. It's mandatory to have one of these on every aircraft. I hope I'll never have to use it, but it's there. Next on, how do we navigate? I mean, I have my electronic flight bag with the maps and the approach charts and the area charts on there. But during the private pilot training, at least here in Switzerland, you still need to have training on paper charts. It's now kind of neatly folded up for my next flight, like this. This is true north. I learned how to navigate with those. I know how to navigate with my electronic flight bag, and I think also in the future I will actually carry one of these paper maps just in case. You never know. Something might happen that you are not able to use the iPad anymore. So I think having a paper backup and knowing how to navigate with a paper chart is actually quite useful. Speaking of paper and having everything as a paper chart, so this is actually my next flight. I also have just a notepad for in-flight to write down the ATIS. And then I went for this kneeboard. It's light aluminium. It has some VFR G codes on it, which I've never used so far because my paper's always on top of it. It looks cool though. It's super lightweight, doesn't take a lot of space, so that's why I actually like that. Yeah, and then because we do everything on paper, I also have my plotter with me. And that's actually it. Let me know what you think I'm missing. I think I have quite a lot of stuff now that I see it spread out around me like this. Let me know if you think something is not necessary and I'm carrying too much extra weight. I'm always grateful for tips. This is essentially just what has worked for me so far, but it might change when the type of flying I do changes. I'm looking forward to your comments and see you in the next one. Bye!